Extra extra, read all about it. Welcome to Empires Recap, and today we'll be going over the chaos and drama of our somewhat respected rulers. This week, Tag is afoot, Skulk is destroyed, and there are several secrets floating around the server. Not just a black market, but strange activities from almost every corner of the map. Goblin expands, the Goblin Express extends to Dawn, the Goblin Village raises with more new houses, and Tango gifts Whip a super smelter with a cool track of minecarts transporting goods to smelt. It's soon dubbed the Tango Track. Later, Whip heads over to Stratos to speak with Joel. Whip asks for some defense and allyship in defeating Jimmy. Joel takes the offer and gives our Emperor some gold in return for this opportunity. Suspiciously, Pearl shows up to Goblin with an offer of gold. Unsurprisingly, it was a trap. Whip is sent through a hole to be tagged not by Pearl, but by a warden, although Whip did get to keep the gold. Whip is given the task to tag someone with a cactus. This gives our Emperor the idea of a Goblin Elytra, a dangerous Elytra covered in cactus, unsurprisingly. Exuma and Impulse attempt the course, but nothing goes to plan, and Whip ends up just punching Impulse into the cactus.
Hey!
Oh,
hey!
did you get to the end?
What did you do? Oh!
In Dawn, Whip introduces Gem to the railroad connecting their empires, then heads back to Gobland to build up an aqueduct. In Hermitopia, Whip discovers Tango is planning to head back to Hermitcraft. Whip does not agree with this and goes chasing after Tango, but instead finds Jimmy. Jimmy, surprisingly, shares the same opinion that they do not want the Hermits leaving.
All of Goblin's falling apart. I need my Tango back.
Scar's built like 90% of Tumbletown and made it an S-tier empire.
And the two come up with an idea to stop them.
Following along to where the tag head leads next, Scott is visited in Chromia by a tag head wearing Impulse, who tells him about these odd signs outside his nether portal. The head was bad news though, as Impulse leads him to a trap and Scott is crushed by 100 anvils. The tag head is now his, and it really does suit him. Impulse takes him to the tag machine to see how Scott has to tag a hermit next, and he gets a berry bush. Impulse must be glad he didn't get this one. Sausage wanders over and sympathizes with Scott's plight, but that's not all he's here for. Rumors are going around about the secret market, and so Scott shows him around. Scott stops by Chromia after the impromptu tour to grab some dice before heading over to Animalia to make a trade for some berries. He's apparently her first customer. Lizzie trades him for a bunch of berry bushes and he uses them to build a prickly maze, perfect to kill someone in. Plan B is to get out the fishing rod to drag them to death, and if all else fails, he's renamed his sword to Berry Bush, so that totally counts. Rendog rides through on his dodo to try and trade his giblets. The twist is, he's mostly selling them so the buyer can get something off of pigs when he comes to collect the set. Scott, ever the fan of somewhat immoral mischief, takes a cobblestone for a hefty price, and Ren makes a quick exit after Scott half-heartedly attempts to push him into the berry maze. The hermit's main weakness is challenges, so Driven agrees to try the maze. He does end up failing, and his prize is of course the tag head. Scott travels with him to see what murder will befall another emperor, and now all that's left is to clean up that bloody berry maze. Force is on the lookout for her cat this week. With all the cats Joe is bringing around, she's lost it. Eventually, she finds it sitting next to other Force's head and decides it's probably a good idea to display the rest of her collection. She does care about Cogsmead, no matter what other Force might think. So maybe it's time to hire an investigator. She doesn't fancy electrocuting herself again. She really wants to do something about the Skulk too. Sanctuary is looking beautiful as ever, and Sausage is in the LORE building, exactly where she needs him. He does some weird scan to make sure she's the correct Force, but seems perfectly happy to take a look at the tower in Cogsmead for some enchanted books. Sausage tells her to wait at the tavern and to never play a specific disc. Maybe she'll check it out later, but she wants to do some building while she waits. It's soon time to head back to the tavern, and Force decides to listen to the disc Sausage seems so cautious about, but Sausage barges in as soon as it begins and demands that the music is stopped. Sausage reports back about this adventure and gives her a book with corrupted words. Apparently, the other falls tried to bribe him. She was waiting as he arrived. It feels a little odd to kill someone who just did a job for you, so maybe she'll keep him around a little longer.
This week in Sanctuary sees Sausage dabbling in a little bit of spying for Empire's Falls. That is, after we get a look at Hermes' new cat Athena and Beat-Up's sun god building, mysteriously missing an interior. Empire's Falls puts in a request with Sausage to spy on Hermit Falls, who is taking up residence at Cogsmead. In return, Sausage takes Empire's Falls to the tavern to wait where he explicitly states not to touch the demon music disc, which she later doesn't listen to. When in Cogsmead, Sausage finds some sewers which he promptly seeks into to find Hermit Falls. He's able to find Hermit Falls, and in a mysterious book full of notes. Although, when Sausage hands this book to Empire's Falls, she somehow corrupts it. Moving on to the rest of the week. Sausage speaks to Rendog, who just lost his dodo bird in the Sanctuary Nether portal. Ren introduces Sausage to his trading venture that includes all of his first blocks and empires. Ren receives Sanctuary magic and Elytra wings in return for Sausage taking Ren's first bed and first dirt block. Promptly after this interaction, Sausage gets transported to another dimension, the one he saw with Beat-Ups. There seems to be no escape from this dimension until Ren appears too. It isn't till they begin talking about Doc that Sausage is transported back to Empires. Sausage and Pearl meet up and decide to build a fighting arena. Something about it feels familiar. And Hermitopia, the tag game, continues, where Sausage participates in a wither fight with Exuma, Cub, and Ollie. In order to receive 2 stars, Sausage must be tagged by suffocating in a wall, which he agrees to. Sausage later manages to tag Cleo with explosive beds. Or maybe it was cookies. Oddly, as he's traveling past, that computer face on the side of Hermitopia seems to be awake. Hopefully it doesn't cause any problems.
However he actually feels about the sheriff, Joel doesn't seem too pleased to find the stone pillars and glass connectors of Jimmy's invisibility switch prank. He pulls an Uno reverse card, using the same stone to spell out, "You are a toy," in the sky, waiting to be revealed with the click of a map.
I'm gonna tell Jimmy he's cute and put a kiss. There you go. I don't know why. Oh, look at that. See, guys, we love each other, really. The only reason we argue so much is because we can't be together. Anyway, like I was saying, building!
Joel returns to Stratos to clear out an area for his palace before heading off to gather materials. After a brief trip to the Mesa for raw gold, he builds his palace in Lore City. Rendog then drops by, offering his giblets. Or are they giblets? Either way, there are a series of collectibles featuring his firsts on this server, and Joel trades an enchanted netherite axe for Ren's first wooden pickaxe, but what he's really after is the much more lucrative idea of having something to barter with when he needs some of Pix's froglights. The trade, however, does not go off without a hitch.
Wait, you've got a huge... Your axe is massive!
This is my axe. Daddy Sausage gave me this. This is Daddy Sausage's magical wood giver, so I've got to keep hold of this.
Oh, I feel cheated. I feel cheated!
Finally, Joel adds a back garden to his palace, with some additional terraforming to make the back of the palace a more welcoming view.
We start with discovering Joel's payback for last week's prank. And a map saying, "You are a toy," which is from a stone build flying above Tumbletown. To make matters worse, all the Tumbletown torches and lanterns were replaced with blue corruption. Skull corruption also reappears even after Jimmy removes it. Jimmy joins the Sun religion this week, which he is very enthusiastic about because he loves telling people to sleep. They both pray to the Sun god, Beat-Ups, before Jimmy heads home. The most exciting news to report this week is that the Tumbletown rail is now complete. Everyone, please give Jimmy a round of applause. In some more unexpected events, Grian arrives at Tumbletown asking where Scar is. This prompts the conversation about the hermits heading back to Hermitcraft once Crambot is online. Jimmy seems to think that Scar is sticking around despite Scar having a whole theme park to get back to. When he realizes that may not be the case, there seems to be a shift in the Emperor. A possible shift towards a dangerous and dark venture.
It's pretty close to home time now. We just need a bit of help finishing up the tower, and then we can skedaddle on out of here, right?
Yeah,
See you later.
Yeah, I'll tell him. 100%. 100%.
You better let him know.
I will. I'm totally not letting him know. Scar is living here forever. I can't let them go home. They're not going home. Scar is not going home.
Jimmy heads over to check out Crambot to convince Scar to stay, but instead comes across Flip. The two have the idea to team up and prevent the hermits from returning home. And finally, Jimmy receives his sheriff's hat back, so people will maybe respect the sheriff again.
The quiet of dawn is disturbed by a very loud visitor known as Ollie, who is searching for the Sun Princess to help with the plant dilemma he's having. The sound of music carries the two over the mountain to the archipelago. It's Jem's first time visiting, even though they're neighbors. Ollie apparently was given a sapling from the witch in the Evermore, but it just won't grow. Luckily, Jem knows the exact problem and tells Ollie to leave for lore reasons. She feeds the sapling some glistening melon and bone meal, which grows it into a lovely pink tree, branching into the sky. Back in dawn, she finds a chest speaking about spreading the darkness, and obviously she is very offended by the notion she might partake in this.
I'm quite literally all about light. I am the Princess of Dawn, the sun. Oh no, no. We cannot have that. Apollo, you have my permission to eat the next person who brings Skulk here, okay? Eat them.
The Gate of Dawn is missing a few key features, but she is quickly interrupted from building by her new self-proclaimed neighbor, Fwip. Fwip has apparently finished a railroad all the way from the Goblands to just outside the Gates of Dawn, and is here to gossip.
Hello, neighbor. Hi, neighbor.
We're not neighbors.
We are now. I finished the railroad.
Is that what that is?
Jimmy is stepping on Jem's turf by producing golden carrots, and has also hired an assassin Hawkeye to kill Fwip.
Did you hear what Jimmy's doing down in Tumbletown?
While she has him here, though, she asks about the mysterious bite marks in her gate. Fwip avoids the question. She kills a zombie in her way while placing some leaves to cover up the bite marks, and it spreads skulk all over the place. That's what the sign meant. Now, that gatehouse was for a castle, but she decides she needs the celebration of the sun now more than ever. Jimmy messages about coming over the dawn to talk about the sunglasses, and when he realizes there's a religion attached, he reads the terms and conditions before signing. Gotta respect the law and everything. Anyways, time to get back to work. Jem draws a pixel art sun on the front of her gatehouse before going over to the Great Bridge to build a place for people to join her religion. There's a few beds, lots of light, and the banners of dawn.
Across the Great Bridge, Pixel Riffs is putting his foot down about the Skulk. His domain may be the past, but whatever is wearing Cubfan's face is doing too much damage to the present to be ignored. And probably won't come quietly, so to get in close enough to stop the Skulk spreader, he'll have to go undercover. Making a long-awaited return to the machine, Pixel Riffs covers himself in Skulk until he looks like a proper devotee, and meets up with Cubfan.
I mean, pretty convincing, don't you think?
Pix is a historian, not an actor, but whatever is possessing Cub is not the most discerning audience, and the ruse works. Pix even shows him the machine, which is constantly creating catalysts in Skulk that Cub could borrow. This plan better work. After getting proof that Cubfan has changed, Pix blows him up to try and break him out of it, and it doesn't work, only spreading more Skulk in the capital. Cubfan is as cheerful as ever as he leaves, and Pix realizes he needs help, and a bath. Still on the murder train, Pix goes to the greatest fighter in Empires, False Symmetry. Between the two of them, they should deal enough death to kill one measly parasite born of the fog, right? The two sneak over to Hermitopia, and while Falsa's acting is even worse than Pix's, Cub doesn't mind being murdered a bunch. His own death spreads Skulk, furthering his goals. What he does mind is getting splashed with a potion, which actually burns away some of the Skulk covering Cub's body. Pix and False put Cub in a hole and seek out someone who can give them all the potions. Evermore's resident witch and her goat-eating frog are perfect for the job. Shelby has plenty of potions and feels somewhat responsible for Cubfan's current state, so she's prepared to do everything she can.
We're gonna throw the book at
oh
him.
my goodness.
The recipe book.
Yeah, what if
Yeah, I'll bring the book too. It's pretty big. It'll knock him out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
3 pairs of hands, 2 achievements, and a lot of broken bottles later, Cubfan is free of Skulk. He doesn't remember anything, and Pix certainly isn't going to tell him. He's now faced with all the damage that's already been done. The server is still covered in Skulk. Thankfully, Pix knows an interdimensional cleaning lady, and Pearlescent Moon is coming to see him anyways. She's got a gift for him, the best kind.
Another one.
Oh!
Just another big one, you know, as opposed to
Wait. Hold on to that. Because you've got the other stuff as well. I like you, friend.
Pix is still giddy as he shows Pearl to Crag to turn in her full-size ore for a netherite ingot, and uses one of his own to make her a netherite hoe, both as thanks and for their next task. The two sweep the capital, scrubbing away Skulk from the museum to the statue, around which the fourth wall gets very thin. After Pearl leaves, Pix catches up with Joe Hills, who is happy to hear there won't be an increase in the number of Tatalists. They spot the patch of Skulk left from Pix killing Cubfan, and Joe suggests making an outdoor area for exhibits. The museum is only so big after all. That idea simmers in Pix's head as he patches up the road, as well as admiring the psychological effects of a Shrieker-based security system. And that's the Joe Hills difference.
Just because there are visitors from another dimension doesn't mean business is pulled to a halt. Shovel starts off restocking her potion shop when Impulse comes asking for a favour. He's missing his beard and hears that she's got some magic that might be able to help. She gives him a potion of regeneration to try, though she isn't very faithful in her own strengths. Impulse is somewhat unnerved by the idea he could wake up as a llama, but at least she knows how to fix that one. The potion works and Impulse leaves happy, with a smaller beard than he's used to, but it's better than nothing. She comes across a chest telling her the darkness embraces her, and when she goes to kill some cows, Skulk comes crawling up from the ground. Cub seems pleased in chat.
Aw, man! What?
She hears visitors admiring her new big toad outside, and it turns out to be Pixel Riff and False looking for a potion to help deal with Cub. The furious cocktail of potions works, and Cub seems free of any Skulk influence, so they leave him to rest and Shelby goes back to the Evermore when she comes across a Ring Dog. He's looking for some help moving house, and I don't just mean the inside. Luckily, Shelby has some experience with moving entire buildings, even if there are some unintentional cross-dimensional shenanigans in the process. She takes the collector's item of Ren's first diamond, and then when he's left before she goes to bed, she finds an odd spyglass and an empty shulker that she owns. It's black and white for some reason. Her sleep doesn't go well either as she wakes up in her bed in the middle of the Evermore. Nothing recognisable around at all. Join us next week for more chaos and shenanigans. Thank you for watching, and thanks to everyone for helping out with the project. Check them all out below.